Millions of us spit into tiny tubes every year, searching for a clear answer about who we are. We tend to view this code as our inescapable destiny, a biological record of our lineage and our identity. This has created a modern myth, the idea that DNA is a rigid blueprint. We treat it as an instruction manual that dictates our intelligence, our personality, and our absolute limits. Physically, however, the molecule is a 2-meter long lifeless polymer coiled inside your cells. It is built from simple sugar, phosphate, and a chain of 4 repeating chemicals: adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. At a strictly chemical level, the sequence lacks instruction for self-awareness. It contains no specific gene for being a good person, and the 4 chemical letters provide no mechanism for predetermined fate. If DNA is just a collection of lifeless chemical links, we need to understand how it exerts such a heavy influence on our sense of self. To see the connection, we have to look at what this molecule actually does. In physics, DNA is an aperiodic crystal. It's a highly stable, information-dense structure seeking its lowest energy state. A human genome contains roughly 3.2 billion of these chemical letters. Printed, that sequence would fill thousands of volumes. The code remains dormant until a biological pipeline, the central dogma, begins to read it. This is the specific chronological path that turns a static chemical sequence into a living organism. During this process, DNA is transcribed into RNA, which provides the template for building proteins. These proteins form the physical architecture of your brain, constructing your neurons and synapses. This architecture shapes behavior by building neurotransmitter systems. It determines the density of your dopamine receptors and the efficiency of your oxytocin pathways. Complex human behaviors like addiction or empathy exist as biological probabilities within the system. The code establishes the sensitivity of our hardware, while the lived experience determines how that hardware is used. Because it builds the hardware, the genome sets a probabilistic range of reactions. It creates a biological baseline, leaving the final behavioral expressions to factors outside the sequence itself. This is the realm of epigenetics, the process where the environment shifts gene activity without ever changing the underlying DNA sequence. Epigenetics works through physical movement. External factors like stress or nutrition trigger the DNA to physically coil around protein clusters called histones. This packing hides some section of the code while exposing others to be read. For example, a person might inherit a high genetic sensitivity to stress. In a harsh environment, that coiling might lead to chronic anxiety. In a supportive one, it can manifest as heightened social awareness and empathy. The genome is a dynamic shifting draft. It is constantly being edited by the trauma, culture, and lifestyle we experience throughout our lives. DNA acts as a biological archive, carrying traces of ancestor survival and migration across millennia. Yet it remains a material molecule subject to mutation, damage, and eventual decay. Consciousness is an emergent property. If DNA builds the theater and hires the actors, consciousness is the play, beginning when the lights go up. It arises from the complex rhythms of billions of neurons communicating in real time. Human behavior relies on the interaction between biological hardware and live experience. This allows us to observe our own tendencies and consciously modulate responses to our environment. Understanding the code provides us with self-knowledge. By recognizing our biological probabilities, we can design environments that play to our strengths, effectively navigating the conditions we inherited.